Good morning and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Friday, the 21st of January. Certainly is going quickly, isn't it? This morning I would like to talk to you a little bit about referring back to Wednesday's Church at Home when I talked about just show up. And a beautiful, beautiful person in my life, her nickname is Ida-Mae. She shared something in the comments from my Church at Home post, and I'd like to share this with you. She says to me here about me just showing up. I said, even here, I'll read it to you. It says, are there ever days when you feel like you'd like to crawl back under the covers and spend the day skipping life? Today, when it's minus 37 degrees out, might feel like a good day for that. However, think about what you might miss if you didn't show up for life today. Sometimes the meaning of life can be found in simply showing up. Going to that party you really don't feel like going to might bring you the most fun you've had in weeks. Getting out of the house and doing what needs to be done may be the trip that introduces you to a new and unexpected adventure. When we make the conscious decision to show up for what happens next, we may find ourselves face to face with God. The Holy Spirit has a wonderful sense of timing and an incredible sense of humor. Those moments and places where you least expect to find grace and joy are often the moments and places where God changes your life for the better. So today, when it feels like a bother to wrap up and get out there, do it anyway. Just show up for life today, and you might be pleasantly surprised by what you find. God bless and have a great day. Well, I had an incredible blessing because late in the afternoon I read this from my friend Ida-Mae. She says, I felt that way this morning. Cold out, tired, sore knees. But the blessing bags for the homeless were ready for distribution. They needed warm hats, gloves, socks, food, and of course, God's blessings. With my faithful sister driving, off we went to the known homeless camps and hangouts to offer what we had collected for them. I actually saw the face of Jesus in a young homeless man I met. He was the only one left in the tent camp. All tents were empty. When I asked him where everyone was, he said they were gone up to the shelter to get food and warm up. I asked his name. He introduced himself as David, the firekeeper. He stays at the camp and tends the fire to keep warm, but more importantly for his other tent friends, so it will be warm for them when they return. I stood and stared at him, and I was sure I saw the face of Jesus tending his flock. David, the firekeeper, thanked me for the blessing bags, told me where to find others and in the area who were living in tents who would appreciate and need a blessing bag, and wished us God's blessing in our day. I'm so glad I got the push to get on with my day and deliver the blessing bags and meet David, the firekeeper. Amen. Isn't that beautiful? David, the firekeeper. Incredible. First of all, that's something I hadn't even thought of, is when we have these tent cities, I don't think we have any in Wainwright or Edgerton, but in lots of places, Edmonton in particular, there's all kinds of places where people gather and try to stay warm. And we've heard all kinds of horrible things about people dying on the streets or getting frostbite and losing their health because it's been so cold. And here, this is in Halifax. My friend Ida-Mae is in Halifax. And she and my former church, she spearheaded this thing with another gentleman from the congregation. They've created this idea of blessing bags where they pull together hats and mitts and socks and hand warmers and things like that as gifts to take to people who need them out on the streets, people who are homeless, people who are in need of shelter and things like this. And it's not a perfect gift. It's not the perfect thing that will end all their problems, but it's something that helps them to know that they are loved and they are cared for. And it gives people an opportunity to have a few of the things that they so desperately need, especially right now in the winter months. And so Ida-Mae and her sister went out on behalf of St. James Halifax, St. James Armdale, to deliver these blessing bags. And what she found was David the firekeeper. And think about it. I never thought of it this way, but if everyone left to the shelter, go to the shelters, to the soup kitchens, to Hope Cottage in Halifax, places like that to go get food, if they all left and the fire went out, how would they restart it? When the fire goes out, how do we get it to start again? We don't always have a lighter and kindling and paper. We don't always have all of those things we need to restart the fire. And so David the firekeeper stayed behind to take care of the fire. He sacrificed his own meal and his own moment of going in a building to get some warmth and maybe get cleaned up and have an opportunity to eat some hot soup and have a sandwich and sit with other people in the warmer, drier environment. He stayed there at the tent city to keep that fire barrel burning, to make sure that the fire did not go out. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor. This idea that there has to be someone who tends the fire. Too often, I think we take for granted those things that are around us and seem to be always there. But there's always somebody in our lives who's praying for us. There's always somebody who's behind the scenes, who's doing that work. It might seem mundane, but that work of keeping the fire burning, the person who makes our meals or cleans our houses, the custodian in our workplaces that goes around behind us and cleans up the messes that we leave, that we never even notice because they're so discreet. They do an excellent job so well that we forget to notice. We only notice when they're sick or on holidays and the work doesn't get done. The people that are work behind the scenes in our churches. How many places, like in St. Mary's in Edgerton, we have a roster of 12 months and we have parishioners that each take a month and they quietly come in, and every Sunday or in the middle of the week when I come into the building, everything is clean and warm and tidy because some quiet person slides in and does their job and asks for no recognition. They just do it because this is the way they can serve God. They can be a fire keeper. How many times have we been able to get through difficult times in our lives or go through wonderful times in our lives because there have been no quiet people in the background tending the fire, making sure we have what we need spiritually, physically, emotionally, so that we can go about living the best life we can live. We need to become more aware of those fire keepers. We need to be more aware of those people who are quietly giving of themselves so that we can benefit. Because if the fire went out, if something happened to them and they just up and quit, or they were no longer able to do it, it is more difficult to start a new fire than it is to tend an ongoing one. We need those fires to remain lit in our churches, in our homes, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, in our communities. And we need to recognize the ways that we can become the fire keepers. Ida-Mae saw the face of Jesus in David. Because is that not what Jesus is? Jesus is the fire tender. He is the one who continues to stoke the fires. He is the one that encourages us and gives us the strength to continue. He is the one who quietly gives us words of wisdom when we are desperately in need of a gentle nudge, some advice, some recognition that we're struggling, but there is something to look ahead to. How many David the fire keepers are there in our lives that we haven't recognized? This would be a good day to take stock, to look around and be aware of who's out there and what's happening, to ask them if they need something, to find them and give them our appreciation, to say thank you, and to bring them back some soup and a sandwich. Or to say, why don't you take a break? I'll tend the fire for a while and you go and take care of yourself. There are so many people out there who tend the fires for us. But we need to take our turn as well. And maybe when we do that, others will see the face of Christ in our face. But we'll also come to understand what it is to be Christ for others. And at the end of the day, there's nothing more humbling than that. To know that we were able to introduce someone to the face of Jesus by doing something as simple as taking care of them. So I ask your prayers this day for David and for all the fire tenders out there, for all the Ida-Mays and sisters who go around and take out blessing bags. I ask your prayers for St. James Armdale for such an incredible act of both outreach and mission, sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with others, and in fact, then also having that good news of Jesus Christ shared with them, as David blessed them, as they shared God's blessings with him. And so please carry St. James Armdale and Ida-Mae and her sister and all the people of St. James, for all of the people in the tent cities in Halifax, in Edmonton, for the homeless in Edgerton and Edmond and Wainwright and wherever you live, that we might not overlook them, that we might no longer bypass them and not even see them, but that we might come face to face with them, and that we might indeed see the face of Jesus in them, and maybe we might see the face of Jesus in us. Wouldn't that be a gift? Given and received. Who are the fire keepers in your life? For whom are you the fire keeper in theirs? Something to think about this weekend. Something to think about as we continue through these winter months. Keep the fires burning, everybody. I'll see you on Sunday for the We Worship mini service, and on Monday for Church at Home with Rachel. God bless you, and keep those fires burning.